All you, Mr. Thomas.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Digitize HQ Live. Today, we are going to be talking with our esteemed guests from Tricycle Europe, and we are going to be talking about how to deploy thought leadership through your network and through your organization and the importance thereof. And who better to have on our show to talk about that than Joachim Verberg and Javier Ortez from Tricycle Europe to show us and talk to us about their many experiences with their enterprise and corporate clients on that topic. And of course, we've got the wonderful Mr. Brandon Lee as the founder of FunnelAmplified on with us as well. And me, I'm just here to listen to everybody else.
Yeah, that's not true at all.
But I'm Thomas Ross, and what I wanted to do was to start off with Joachim. Joachim, did you want to give us a little bit of an introduction on yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Thomas. And indeed, Brendan, what you said, Thomas, I don't think you are here to listen. I think you're going to talk a little bit. But first of all, thanks for inviting us here at your event. Happy to talk about the topic we're going to talk about, one of our favorites, of course. Little background for me, indeed, Joachim Verberg, based in Amsterdam, working globally. So that's why it's great to be here with our American friends. As a company, we make other companies, our clients, win in the social space. That's what we do. We do so in many different ways, but mainly focusing on executives, on sellers, marketeers, supporting them, teaching them, coaching them in order to get from A to B that is needed everywhere in the world. I think fun part of our company is that we are a company with over 20 different nationalities and cultures in our team. We have already there Javi from Spain, but we have many more people from all over the world. And in social, that is a really important thing, because if we're talking about thought leadership, we're talking about sales, about relationship building. It is not the same in the US or in the Netherlands or in Germany or in Japan. It is all different. And that makes the conversation, I think, even more interesting than it already is. So that's for me. And to Ortiz.
Thank you, Johan. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, I'm Javier Ortiz, based in Madrid, in Spain, developing market and developing a bit of business in particularly Spain and Latin America, and also managing our alliances, right, such as ours. So yeah, happy to be here. I've got a background in Microsoft, a bit around communication, digital marketing, and sales excellence. So I'm here to share all my experience and bring value to the conversation the way I can.
And last but not least, Brandon, if you could tell us your amazing story.
Oh, sure. I'm Brandon Lee. I'm the founder of FunnelAmplified. And, I've spent 20 plus years working with sales teams on using content to create conversations with their ideal customers. And as we moved out of the print and digital, the print world, which is where I started, and moved into the internet, it got more fun. It's got a little bit more challenging and a little bit more easier in other ways. But I love this topic today about how to deploy thought leadership. And of course, we're talking about social media, but thought leadership, in my opinion, has always been the key to filling your pipeline with customers who want to buy from you. So this is an exciting topic today.
Couldn't agree more. So I guess the first thing that we want to do, and I think you started with that, Brandon, but maybe I'll give everybody a quick opportunity to do this. It doesn't matter which jump in, but what would be your initial, as Brandon did, definition of thought leadership with respect to organizations today? And then we can sort of bridge out from there.
Yeah, good. So let me start. I think we all have a good say in on that topic, but to me, thought leadership, what we see with our clients, is really to be famous for a topic. So when we are with our clients, and for example, we do a lot of executive branding programs, or we call it leadership in the social space programs, to really get them where we want them to be, or where they actually want themselves to be. Talking about thought leadership, it's something that a lot of people are talking about, but where do you need to be famous for? Where do you want to be known for? What are your topics? And not just your business topics, but also your personal topics. Where are you interested in? Because it also needs to be genuine, right? And Brendan, I think you can also tell a lot about that from the content perspective. So that's always the first question in our coaching programs. So if you want to be a thought leader, that's great, but on what topic? What is your space? And then we can build on that. With thought leadership, you're going to be indeed like known for a specific topic, and you better start working on it today to reach that. The benefits, we're going to discuss that in a little bit later, I think, but are on all different parts of the company, of course. But thought leadership really, to me, is that somebody can say, "Hey, I am in this industry with this topic. People know that I am an expert in this field." That's the core.
Yeah, if I can add something, it's the part around the trust, right? Becoming an expert within your industry and showcasing it to your network, it's what will bring you trust. It will help you to position yourself as a trustful advisor for your network within that topic or set of topics that you are willing to explore, right? Willing to position yourself around.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Brandon, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off of what Javier said, I mean, I think that sales in general, and I think marketing as well. So whether we're just talking like B2B salespeople or we're talking about the B2B marketing teams, I think, being that I still love going back to the basics of being known, being liked, and being trusted. And that can apply to sales and that could apply to marketing. And then our activities are designed to help us be known, liked, and trusted. And a big part of that comes through our thought leadership. We could be known, but we could be known wrong, right? Or we could be known negatively. And then the liked, being, liked and trusted comes from what do we share? How do we share it? Where are we? I mean, I've engaged with people in the past that were really smart, but they were also jerks, and if you don't like them, we don't want to do business with them. So I think there's a big part of that opportunity that really just focused on known, like, and trusted. And I would add to that in this digital era is remembered, because we've got to work really, really hard on being remembered because there is so much noise out there now.
Yeah, so there consistency plays a role, Brendan.
What's that?
Consistency plays a role, I think. In
Yeah.
Everybody, because if you're talking about remembering, I posted something maybe half a year ago about the remembering curve or the forgetting curve, actually, in training. That was the same applies to indeed content consumption, and we want to be in people's heads. As a seller, you want to be in your leads, your prospects, your clients' heads all of the time. That doesn't work. So the forgetting curve is pretty big in learning, but it's also pretty big in this world we're talking about right now, because that content is everywhere. There's so much, even the algorithms in all social platforms sometimes get you into this what is it, like this rabbit hole, or you go down on a topic. So if you want to be a thought leader in the topic, you better be there consistently. Yes, creative, that's great. Really good articles, really good, added value, that's great. But consistency, if it's not there, then all the other stuff doesn't matter at all.
Great point. Great point.
Or you can be lucky. Yeah, that also sometimes happens. But
Sure. Well, I would ask the question in addition to that then, what do specifically leaders have to gain by becoming and being thought leaders?
Well, from my point of view and what I've seen when working with leaders within our clients, right? What they are willing to do and to become, it's basically a thought leader within a particular industry, right? And usually they are aiming or for recognition inside of their company or recognition outside of the company, right? Winning awards, let's say industry awards, getting promotions, doing moves within their careers, right? So that's the main motivation for the leaders to approach thought leadership. But really, what they have to gain, it's basically visibility and seeing and being visible for their audience on a specific topic or industry, right? So that's basically the main value for them.
Agreed. What do you think about that, Joachim?
yeah, indeed, like visibility is always a good measurement for us to see, hey, how visible are you on this topic, or in this street of business. And personally, indeed, maybe sounds simple, but getting a promotion is something in this corporate business what people are after. So the question we ask, if you want to become a thought leader, indeed, why do you want to become a thought leader? Well, because I want to skill up, or I want to be more of a specialist in a specific field, or I want to get some. It's rewarding for yourself if people value what you produce, and it adds value to other people. That's generally good for other people. That's how we are hardwired to work. So there's also this motivation. But when we start with something like this to get somebody into becoming a thought leader, indeed, what's in it for you? Because that's the question, I think, Thomas. Like, hey, person itself, because you need to do some hard work. What's in it for you? And then, well, what do you want? Well, if that is a promotion, for example, could be anything, but if that's a promotion in this case, that's great. So do you think if you're more visible, if your store, your brand is out there better, if your signs on the streets are bigger than one of your neighbor in retail, for example, will you sell more or less? Will you be seen more or less? And will you get promoted earlier or later? What do you think? And the answer always is the same. Yeah, when I become a thought leader, I will be promoted faster. Or when I'm a thought leader, I can support this and this faster. Or when I'm a thought leader, it feels good to my professional life to see myself as a professional. So it is getting down to the personal needs and wants of the person to understand what's in it for me to become a thought leader. Of course, in a business sense, it's moving up the corporate ladder, but it can be so many other motivations that they can have.
Yeah, of course. One thing that we also get, it's not always promotions and that 1 million contract, but it's also things around setting up a culture within their company. Like for example, there are many leaders that are supporting, let's say, inclusive initiatives within the company, right? Supporting inclusion, supporting work-life balance, right? And they want to showcase that within their network, and particularly within their network in their internal audience. Let's say in the connections that they have in their own company, right? So they share content around, let's say, inclusion measures that they are doing with their teams, and usually B2B networks such as LinkedIn, for example, are the ways they use to use this internal promotion, but also external information, right? So yeah, also showcasing their values, their own values.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. I think it's very important for your career in that regard, and the difference between you getting that opportunity and somebody else, whether it's internal or external, is the basis of your being found, and the basis of your personal brand, and the basis of how credible you are in both regards. So I think those are very important. But in addition, and I think this is something that many leaders lose sight of, is you're bringing your organization along with you for the ride, aren't you? So not just are you looking good, but you're making your organization look good. And in so doing, you're promoting the brand, you're promoting whatever that represents and whatever that brings, and you create a wider, more visible, credible audience in that regard. The internal opportunities with respect to your personnel and your teams and your culture, as you rightly point out, Javier, is incredibly valuable, and can be very impactful across the organization. So I'll throw in another question. I'll start with Brandon on this one because I think this is probably one of his favorites, and I know he's got a lot to say on this. So,
Uh-oh.
what sorts of content should leaders be creating or curating or bringing to bear with respect to becoming or maintaining that thought leadership position?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question because there's, we get, I think so often we get caught up in our titles. We lead with our title and we lead with our industry. And I still believe, I mean, look, I think that all business is people doing business with people. And I go back to the know, like, and trust because over my career, it's been very clear that if people like you, you have a much better opportunity to do business with them and to win deals. I'm a huge, huge believer in the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a 100-year-old book that I pick up I read it every year because it's so relevant. And
Spanish
that
version,
relates. Yeah,
Really?
there you go.
This is the Spanish version. My girlfriend is reading it just right now.
Yep. Excellent. It's a 100-year-old book, but it's still totally relevant. And I think it completely relates to content because a big part of that book says people care about themselves. Right. And I do believe, and I've seen this and our data shows this as well. People will always respond from who they are as a human being before they respond to who they are as their title. And so that mixture of content is so important. If we're focused on using content to help us be known and liked and trusted, we have to be more, and we hear those words, there's authentic, you hear the word vulnerable, but that's really what it is. When people get to, they feel like they know who we are and they like that, or they feel like they connect with us, they resonate with us, then it opens up a lot more opportunities. And what we find is when here's a good example of one of our customers. He started writing, adding social posts around being a cyclist. And he's a cyclist. He's based in Scotland. He's cycled in France and throughout Europe in different places. And he was incorporating that into some of his social messages. And he would use some of his experiences on his road bike to tell stories about the industry. Well, one of the things it did is he started building relationship, and it just happened to be a perfect fit. Somebody else who was a cyclist who is in Southeast Asia, who also happened to be a CFO of a major bank, they started connecting around being cyclist. And, banks happened to be one of this gentleman's ideal customers. And the thing turned into a bit of a conversation, to a bit of camaraderie, into, hey, can we have a meeting about this? And it turned into an opportunity. Now, I know there's a little bit of happenstance with that type, but I think the foundation of it is extremely important. We have to, like a networking event where we shake hands, we smile, we ask questions, Javier, where are you from? How long you been in Madrid? You reference your girlfriend, how long you been together? Or, where did you meet? That's the foundation of business. We get to know people. And it's the same as it always been. It's just different when it happens in social media. We have to have the courage and the vulnerability to share more of who we are. And it doesn't mean open everything up and, show all the ugliness and warts and everything that we all have, but it is being more authentic and vulnerable and share with who you are.
Yeah, and a good one, Brendan, because I think indeed, well, there are a couple of points you said there that's like really important in using content to reach thought leadership. For me, 2 points to pick out. So one is that adding the personal touch to it, and the other one is to add value to content that's already there. Because he said he wanted to add value to somebody, and if well, I actually had an example that went the other way, where we had a customer, and she was posting a lot on all social channels, but then it was only about personal stuff. So it was exactly the other way around as your story. She had high engagement. She was, well, not an influencer, I would say, but like pretty much up there. So a lot of engagement, likes on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, and yeah, everywhere. But now it comes to, hey, we want to use this for business as well. And it's great that you have so much traction and, with friends and family and whoever is in your network. But how can we use your visibility in order to promote the brand as well? So, and then we changed it around. So it's actually the opposite story of what you have. She started to add to her story, and I don't think she was a cyclist, but more like walking outside in the mountains and stuff, right? The same idea. And then she connected that with the business. And now you see that business people also, tapped into her content. And now it's not just friends liking, engaging with her post. This was specifically on LinkedIn, because the other stuff she wanted to have on my private stuff, it's fine. But LinkedIn lets you use it also for the brand. And now everybody else is learning from that in the company and, push the brand upwards like that. So I like that, it can be different.
But I think the foundation of that, whether they started with a whole lot of personal content, or they started with a whole bunch of business content, or they even started with no content, where I think the mix is, there's been a lot of talk and I totally agree with educating content, but there's also entertaining content, because we humans like to be entertained, if we call it. And that's where, and because we're so social, and I don't mean social media, we're just social creatures. We were designed as social creatures, right? I think that entertaining part, or that sharing of ourselves part, it's just human nature. It's always been there in the offline world. And those that embrace it in the online world, it opens up dramatically. I mean, we could all probably list off right off the top of our head 5-10 people that we know on LinkedIn that they have a massive following and they do a lot of business. And one of the key similarities between all of them is they're also personal, because they're human. Yeah,
it shows the person behind all that, right?
Yep.
And maybe to add one extra thing in the mix here, and because adding personal stuff in post and being consistent with that and building up your network in the way that it adds value. What we always try to do is to make sure that they understand that they need to add value to an existing piece of content that's already there. So there's some research about a certain topic. Don't just throw it out there, because indeed, Brendan, you need to be entertained. So you need to have at least a little bit to say about it. But we're also hardwired to learn. And we're also hardwired to not just learn something that's there, but to learn something new. So going back to university, you have an article, and this is for manufacturing, for example, but what can we learn about this stuff in manufacturing for the consultancy business, for example? Because maybe we can learn something from it. And this is content that people, when you are in that position, so when you work at a consultancy firm, you see an article of somebody that you know, says, hey, something from another industry, but super and highly interested for you, maybe like it's relevant for you. And this is where like the minds go from like, hey, that's interesting. That is something new, So it's entertainment, but also learning some new things. And therefore, like we also not only vulnerable and personal stuff connected, combined with the business content, but also try to bring value by adding something new, like a new insight, a way of thinking for people. And that is what, well, Brendan, the example that you gave with that you all know some people that are really out there and they have a lot of traction and they do this consistently. So every time you get a new like, hey, hey, that's interesting. I didn't know that. And then that
Yeah,
really
and I fully agree with both of you, Brandon, Johan. It's all about sharing, right? And building a cadence, a consistent cadence. Let's not forget that most of the people sharing content on LinkedIn and B2B platforms are willing also to showcase what they do and what their company do to their network, right? That selling part that we'll never like, right? However, it's important to introduce that also in the content mix, right? Because we are always speaking about all the fun stuff, right? To share, which is always nice, right? It's what gives the feeling of not spamming your network and how to have your network engaged, right? But really that maybe 5-10% of content which is going to help you sell more, it's the critical one to sell, right? To approach digital selling, right? I've got my own story, right, where a ex colleague of mine working on a company where I used to work, but then she moved to another one, right, in the same sector. We were connected for almost 10 years on LinkedIn. And of course, we followed each other. We were exchanging likes, engagement, comments. But was the specific content around this is what we do for our companies, for our customers, and how we support our customers and how we bring value? What clicked on her? That awareness stage. I'm needing this, right? And then the customer cycle begins. The awareness, research, right? She did her research to find if other companies can support equally as we do. Then jumping into all the buyer cycle. So of course, right? I fully agree around being social animals, entertaining, educating, bringing value, right? But it's about the mix, because you cannot forget to share and to showcase, especially on a professional B2B network, what you're doing and how you bring value to your customers, because that's how you influence in these stages.
Yeah, and I think what we've all said is what we have done, what business people have done traditionally before the internet was that combination: get to know people, ask, learn about them personally, find out about their business, share what you can do for their business, ask more questions about their business, ask questions about their family. That's why, at least, in the United States, it was, hey, I have tickets to a football game. Do you want to come with me? Do you want to go? Do you want to meet on the golf course? Do you want to meet for drinks? It was all personal mixed in with business, or it was business mixed in with personal. It's always been that way. And I think the tendency was going into social media, especially LinkedIn, it was business, 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 business. And they missed it. But Javier, to what you said, that mix, that balance, and putting in a cadence, I think is the right recipe for that. And having that strategy of where you want to go. And I'm going to pop that up. Somebody on Facebook was saying good morning to us. Good morning to you. But in Facebook, unless you tell us who you are, we don't know because Facebook doesn't give us that information. So,
Wow, it's the only information that it doesn't give, huh?
yeah. Well, it's a StreamYard connection issue. Yeah.
It's a user.
Yeah. You know, and I love what everybody has said, and I think it's the balance, and I think that's really important. But I think one of the things that we just want to add to that, just as in closing, before I ask another question of everybody, is that we also need to engage with others in our networks and in our organizations and in our communities, and we need to enjoy and comment and be an active participant. Throwing stuff up on the wall is wonderful, but people don't care if you don't care about them. Right? So social is social.
Beautiful, Thomas.
So it's a people thing, and you got to have some fun with it, enjoy them, and hopefully that brings it about. And when you show that empathetic, real person, people are attracted to that, and that just creates lots of great things for everybody involved. So I have another question for everybody, just to keep us.
No, Thomas, it's really good because when talking about thought leadership and talking about content, it's always about posting content, right? Posting content, company content, posting personal content, posting industry content, right? It's always about pushing. And indeed, what we do in our coaching programs as well is you want to be part of the discussion on a topic. So what's the goal? If you want to be more visible, it helps to be active on social and to engage, what you said, Thomas, engage on other posts on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and cross-check it a little bit. Be part of the discussion, add value without expecting anything in return, just helping that conversation. And then you will see people going to your profile and then reaching out to you, connecting to you. And again, my point, consistency always. If you do that consistently, like every week or every other day or something, just professionally add some value to some discussion somewhere within your narrow topic, because you cannot do everything; it's too big. Or in your region or whatever is your niche. Then you're gonna build up, a thought leadership in that area because people will recognize it. It will see you. And it will not go by the thousands at the time. No, it will go by maybe 10, 20 people that will see your comment. But a comment, that's the fun part, it's so easily done. And that's what we always try to convince our customers. If when they say, hey, we don't have time to do that, well, guess what? You're actually learning from that commenting because you're a part of a discussion. So you need to understand and read and listen to what's being said and then add your own sauce there, your own flavor and your own ideas. But it's not just commenting without any brain activity. No, it's about understanding what's being said, what the discussion is, add value. Maybe you get a response back. Maybe you can learn something from it. And then it gets into a game.
Right.
And your mind's going to be in a game mode, then things will happen. So it's not just posting. That's great. That's, let's say, the base, your lifeline. But it's definitely a big part of the discussion. And the big kicker here, or kicker, I'm not sure if that's an English word like that, but the big benefit, so to say, is that algorithms love that. They love that behavior. They love if you add even more value to their network, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
Joachim, that is, I love what you said there. And I think if whoever's listening, if they take nothing else, that is the key difference, I think, between somebody who is social selling and somebody who is using their social profile to build relationships that leads to business opportunities. And as you said at the end there, the algorithm loves it. And it's why, I tell people, don't send connection requests to your prospects. And they go, wait, what? I go, until you've engaged with them multiple times first, while simultaneously publishing thought leadership content and content about who you are as a human being, because those two things one, the algorithms, but two, you're introducing yourself to them. You're moving yourself from being a cold and unknown person to a warm known person before you ask to connect or before you ask for a conversation.
Yeah,
And I mean, the
that's a
data
difference,
is
huh?
just incredible about how much it influences, a positive outcome.
Yeah, like known versus unknown. That is the big gap, and it is just like in a normal, situation where you have interaction. Well, it does even in business, just in general, right? You need to listen first,
Mhm.
and then engage. And the beautiful thing, we have so much to listen to in social. There is so much information. So listen, and then use whatever you heard, whatever you read. Use that in your connection. So if you're going to do a connection request, like almost like a cold outreach, because sellers still want to do that, but then better base that on listening. So listen to them, listen to your target audience that you want, and then invite them with a real story, not like, hey, X of company X working in industry X, and then filling in the blanks. And I think we have a good connection because I also work in, you know, that's that cold outreach that nobody likes. I even heard the other day about cold posting. It's also an interesting topic. Never heard of it?
I don't know that I have.
Well, it's interesting. Huh? It's so go back, let's say 10 years, when maybe 15 years, where cold calling was like really the big deal, and then
Sure.
let's say 7, 8 years ago, that shifted, and people started to think, hey, cold calling is dead, right? Because it doesn't work anymore, because people don't like that anymore. You call me, you ask me all these questions, you can figure it out on Google, right? So don't bother me with those questions. So, makes sense. And now we're getting into a next phase where social is being more mature, especially in B2B. And when I post, people understand you do that to show your expertise and everything we're talking about today. What I hear in the market right now is that people also starting to dislike, and here comes the point of the liking. You sell better to people that like you than not like you. They dislike people that cold post, and cold post is just taking whatever article, putting it out there, and say, "Hey, great article,
Oh.
right? Great event."
Mm.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that is cold
Right.
posting.
That's something that I really see in certain companies that take employee advocacy as a they adopt it as a tool, but they are not super aligned with the overall strategy where the content is curated, like it's safe and secure to share it, but they forget to add their personal touch, right?
Value.
And then if you follow X amount of people, maybe decision makers, maybe just ex-colleagues because you're connected to that specific team, then you suddenly see 10 people posting the same article with the exact same text. And it's
Cold
the feeling
post.
is the feeling is like spam, like there wasn't a bit, just not a tiny bit of effort or care around that post, right? So yeah, definitely I understand the concept, Johan.
Yeah, it's a great point. It really is. So there's a way to do this. So I'm going to bridge from that into this next question, and that is, and I'll just precipice. I can't even get the word out. I'll set it up such that we understand today. We think, or maybe even feel, that most leaders are online and social and doing many of the things that we're talking about, but the facts speak otherwise, don't they? Well, they aren't. Right. In fact, very few leaders are doing this. So most of the leaders today are not yet doing this, but many of them know they should. So my question from that point of view, and realizing that we have, as a group here, we have a great deal of experience, and we're used to the good, the bad, and the ugly as we've described it. But how does a leader today get started in becoming a thought leader, and what are the first steps they need to take to do that? Who wants to kick that one off?
Boom. Well, I'm always happy to start.
Okay, please do.
Good to have the question there to somebody. No, it's indeed it's to get started, and they all start at a different level. However, it's exactly what Javi just said. It's not just implementing the tools, or to have an employee advocacy tool, or to have a content tool, or have a content desk, or have an assistant that provides content to you. That's not how you start. You start by understanding why we're here. Why do you need to be a thought leader? And going back, I think half an hour in this discussion back. It's not only external; it's also internal. Just in December, there was a big research from Harvard published about big topics that happen in the world, right? And that employees expect from their leaders, in this case, they're real leaders. In this case, the CEO kind of C-level people, to say something about topics that go around the war, COVID, sustainability, the future of our planet, and they expect so, right? And here comes the big thing. They expect so to speak about it on social, because that is where the rest of us people talk about these topics. So if you are a leader and you are not using this channel, then it feels like, hey, this person doesn't care. Well, that's not the case at all. The leader is talking about it on events. They're talking about it internally in meetings. They talk about it at home with their friends. They just don't use the channel. And this is the big why. It is, even if you don't want it, people around you, if you want to be a leader, if you don't want to be a leader, fine, then don't be it. But if you want to be a leader, people around you expect you to use social channels to talk about topics. And that's pretty difficult, because what's good, what is bad? Do you want to talk about the war? That is that's difficult. So you're going to have to do and don'ts. So how to get started is to understand first, hey, why do you want this? And why do we think that you want this? And why do you think why you want this? And then build from there. Just an example, when we start with a customer, always when they want to achieve thought leadership, we take PR, marketing, HR all together in one single session, sort of a workshop battle kind of thing. And let's get everything on the table, because these leaders, and that again, if you are that high up as a leader, then everybody wants something from you. Also, if you are a leader, a thought leader, and you are a seller, for example, right? When you get success, you're going to get higher up. When you have more visibility, then all of a sudden marketing comes in. So yeah, well, you have success. So this is also that example that I gave a little bit earlier with the lady who was really promoting herself mainly. And the marketing comes in, but hey, we also want a bit of that, right? So if you get more attention, you also get attention from internal of your company. And this is what they need to understand how that works. So that's why we try to get everybody involved, so that it's all clear, all out on the table. And then start with the basics. For us, it's always three things: branding, connectivity, and engagement. These are the three pillars if you want to start becoming a thought leader. So branding, what's your brand? That's first. With content, you show what your brand, you prove what your brand is. So if you say, hey, I am a healthcare expert, I don't know, something like that, then you need to post about healthcare and the developments in healthcare, because then you're going to be a trusted advisor to the healthcare industry. Connectivity, if you're not connected to the people where you want to become a thought leader in, that are in the same industry or in the same, they have the same interest as you, then it doesn't matter. So if I'm gonna again share about healthcare, and all my connections are in retail, there's disconnect. And this is what we see all the time. The connection, it is not in sync. So we're going to start building up a network. For example, building up a network in your key accounts, in your strategic accounts, because only then your content will be valuable. And then, so you've got your brand fixed, you've got your connection fixed. That takes a while, right? And then it's about engagement. And this is the topic we talked about, Thomas, just a few minutes back, when it's not only about posting, but also commenting and supporting other discussions going on. And it goes back and forward. And now, if all these three are in line, right, then you have the basics. That is like the really big one step to reach thought leadership. And then the heavy duty work comes, where you need to be consistent, adding value, week over week, month over month, on the same topic, hang in there, connect to the right people over and over and over and over and over again. In 9 months from there, you're going to be so much better off than when you started. And it's measurable. And that's the beautiful thing in our business, of course. Javi, I see you nodding there.
Yeah. I wanted to add something, but I wanted to add something, but really, I think that you covered it really good, right? I couldn't even do a summary, so so it's no. I think I fully agree, and the only thing that I might be lacking, right, in each of those steps would be a bit of listening, right? I like a lot the sentence of God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, right, to listen twice. So yeah, of course, all those steps are super good, but when you build consistency, also don't forget to listen to what your audience is interested in, right? What they are engaging with, what they are sharing, because that is always nurturing you with more information around what kind of keywords you should be using, what kind of topics you should be targeting in your posts, to sparkle that interest around your network, right? So yeah, that's
Oh, but it's great. Also, Javi, like, what kind of content do they consume? What type of content? And you can only by listening.
And where, right? It's not always just LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or any or one of them. It's all of them, and you need to determine that. What are your thoughts on that, Brandon? That this is a big question for you, I know.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I agree with what they're saying. I think the engagement is a term that needs to be defined and unpacked for people. I think because a lot of leaders that are trying to move into, do I want to become a thought leader? Do I need to do more in social? What does that really mean? And when we hear the words engagement, most people assume it's them coming to engage with my post. And I think that clarity of, and Javier said it was as called it listening, which is a big part of it. And we've got knowing the right keywords and knowing the hashtags and knowing the topics and having our personal brand. All of that for me falls under engagement. And what we've seen in our, and I loved it, Dr. Joe Hill, one of our customers the other day, said he 10x the amount of conversations with his ideal customers by doing 3 things. But the key thing is you have to do them in the right order, right? And it's engage. We have to go to them, right? We have to go to their post or to posts that they engage with and start to engage. And that requires, as Javier said, listening, but it requires us doing the action of going to their profiles, going to their post, going to posts that they've engaged with in order to join their community. And that's number 1, because if we post, it's great, but we've got to go demonstrate. And Javier, your, how to win friends and influence people. We need to be about other people for them to respond to us, because the most important person in the world me, right? For everybody, it's me, it's me. So we need to go be about them. That means we go to them first. And especially in a B2B world, and this isn't about digital marketing, this is about individual sales professionals using their social media account to go create conversations with their ideal customers. They have to start by going there. Then you're sharing content. And all the things that we've said, it's got to be on target. You have to entertain. You tell a little bit about you, but it has to be about your industry as well. I know my data and my personal data when I share. When I share something very specific about my company, my engagement goes, why? Nobody cares about my company, right? And they shouldn't. But when I share something of experience in the industry, or I share a customer story of what they've gone through, well, then my engagement goes up. And generally, when I share something about my life as a human and things like that, my engagement goes up even more. And when I use that engagement then to reach out, so they've seen me engaging with them, then they see my post and they engage with my post. Well, that's the perfect opportunity to digitally reach your hand out and introduce yourself and do the handshake, the digital handshake. Why is that so important in that order? Well, and then the third one then you send a connection request, right? The digital handshake. If we do it in the opposite order, we send the connection request, cold, unsolicited. What we're really doing is saying, hi, I want to sell something to you. And so I'm going to start by connecting with you, and then I'm going to come sell you something. And nobody wants to be sold. So that's my thought. I think, we're getting clarity for people, especially leaders, when you say the word engagement, especially a lot of business leaders. Oh, I'm going to go share my voice and people are going to come engage with me. Well, it's very humbling to know for anybody. Very few people, right? Barack Obama goes and posts something, he's going to have a lot of people following. You've got key leaders like that around the world. It's going to happen, celebrities. But for most of us, it's not if we post it, they all show up. We've got to earn it, and we earn it through developing relationships.
Yeah, it's earning it. That's a beautiful one, actually, because it's really earned. Instead of paid. You can also do a lot of paid stuff in this field, digital marketing. But this is really earned. And then the question is, hey, how valuable is that? And it's of course a lot more valuable than just paying for 1,000 views, for example. So earned is a really good one to add into the topic. And what I also like what you just said about going backwards remembers me of an event, a real life event we did 3 years ago. It's terrible. We were with a lot of people, like in a building, and it was great. We had one of our clients presenting there, a great guy, and he had the same topic or the same example, and it's still as we still use it in conversations with our clients. So they said, people come to me. He was like a social media expert within a huge company, and then say, hey, come to me and say, hey, can you help me write this one post that I get a lot of clients from? I said, well, yeah, sure, but no, right? And then he said, hey, but you need to go backwards. So I can help you to write that post in 3 years from now. But you start today. And then you're like, huh, what? And then he showed, well, maybe you know it because you're from the US, Seinfeld. There's one episode, it goes backwards, the whole episode. Do you know that one?
Yes, yes.
Yeah? Okay, years back. But sorry, not for you probably, I'm sorry, but...
No.
Seinfeld, it's still funny, but or not, whatever you choose. But they have like the whole episode backwards, and this is what you need to do. Is somebody comes to you and say, "Hey, I want to be a thought leader in this field, and I want to use social to become that thought leader." Great, But let's go backwards now. If you want to be that today, then you should have started like a couple of years before. So you didn't. Okay, so let's start now and work that way. If you want to become the thought leader and you want to have that post, that Barack Obama post with like 1 million views and everything, what do you need to do to get there? And then even luck is also needs to be on your side here and there as well. So, but at least we can build to improve the chances of that a lot. And just think about backwards. So that means blood, sweat, and tears. You put in. It's yeah. This is how it works.
Yeah, and I think the other, we've said a lot of things. Javier said 2 ears and one mouth, and we talk about known, like, and trusted. There's a lot of kind of sayings out there, but the other one I think really applies to thought leadership is it's not what you know, but who you know. And in a digital world, it's who you know, but who knows you, and all of that takes consistency.
Yeah, it's
consistency is king, huh?
Yeah, but
first thing I learned.
I love what you said, Joachim. And I would just add to that. I get asked that all the time. When should I start? Well, it's like that famous question: when should I plant a tree? Well, the best time was 30 years ago.
Yeah,
but the second best time is today, right? Go get the shovel. Go get the shovel. But I want to come back to something a little bit more mechanical and a little bit more fundamental with respect to how do they start, right? So when a thought leader or when somebody who wants to become that thought leader, and you're right, you got to work it backwards, and you got to figure out what are those steps. And you've talked about a lot of the conceptual steps, but the physical step that stops most people, I mean, you can call it what you want to call it, I'll just call it what it is they don't want to actually sit down and write something, or they have a very hard time doing that, or both. Right. And that's one of the things that you have to help people overcome. It's like helping somebody create a LinkedIn profile where they go and get their resume, they stick it up on LinkedIn, right? And they put their picture there and say, I'm done. Well, no, you haven't done anything. Yeah, you haven't done anything yet. Right.
But this, Thomas, like writing is one thing, and maybe for some it's more difficult than for the others, right? But there are tips and tricks how you can still use it. But I think building up the connections, your audience within a specific target group is just as important. So, because if you want to be a thought leader in this specific industry, in this specific region, within in a certain type of people, for example, facility managers or something, then you need to connect today to 5 facility managers, and so on, and every day. Right? Otherwise, you will never become a thought leader within that group, within that community. Creating content, connectivity, and then you need the engagement. It is the hygiene even. So even if you post something and somebody's responding to you, then you need to do something with it. You cannot just indeed like post it there and then let it go. No, it's social. You need to engage. You need to respond. You need to be part of that conversation. So it's all together, these steps. And then you're going to build like for success.
Great points. I would just add to that when it does come to writing, because that's the biggest pushback I get, whether it's from sales teams or even marketing teams, is I don't know what to write, so I don't write. And it's not about writing or being an author or the next famous novel, whatever that is, but rather about talking about the things that you're comfortable with and that you know already. You don't have to make stuff up. You've already lived a great life. Talk about that. Talk about the different things that make you, right? And talk about those experiences. How did you start this company? How did you get in this position? That's what people want to know about. They want to know about what makes you tick. And it doesn't have to be long. It just needs to be fun, right? And that's where people need to really learn how to do that and express themselves, but from themselves, not through somebody else. And when you can do that, then great things start to happen, right? So I just think that this has been, we could go on this because we didn't even get through all the questions that I have here, to be honest.
Wow.
We could go on and on and on, but this was a great conversation. And I think for anybody who is really wanting to learn about how to get started and what to think about if they do in fact want to become a thought leader, this is a great episode to watch again and again, because you guys have just said so many great things. You really have.
Well, and we
We're
just had
happy
fun.
to we're happy to have a part 2. It was super fun
yeah,
participating in this conversation.
absolutely. Brandon, did you want to say anything in closing? Because you're
No, I agree with you. It was great, and I have a feeling that the four of us sitting around, having a beer together, talking about this, it would be a very late night. We would have a lot of fun.
Well, I hope we also can talk about other stuff then. Huh?
Yeah, of course. Well, see, that comes right back to it. You got to go to the non-business stuff, of course.
Indeed. There you go.
Yeah,
Sounds like a good idea.
I would want to ask Javier how Madrid is doing with the game last week of Madrid and Real Madrid and Barcelona.
Oh, that's just cruel, huh? No, well, I was depressed the whole week, but nah, just kidding. But of course, always football. It's a great topic to discuss, and it was a good match for Barcelona. Yeah. Let's see how the season ends. That's always important. One match is not building consistency. Consistency is key. So
there you go. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, at least none of us are waking up this morning Italian. And what happened with Italy? What happened with Italy yesterday in the World Cup? So
yeah, 8 years without a World Cup.
Yeah, you guys can see I'm a weird American, and that's from that's the 1994 World Cup, and it was Italy, Brazil, and I went to the finals. And I started playing football when I was 5 years old, and that's not a usual thing for an old white guy American like me.
Well, now I'm an Ajax supporter. Since I traveled to Amsterdam office last week, I have my Ajax shirt. So now I support Ajax.
Well, Joachim, I'm an Ajax. I was an Ajax supporter when I was a child because I played in the Netherlands the summer of 1983, I think 84. I can't remember now, but went to a game at Ajax Stadium. Watched Feyenoord. I went to the Feyenoord Stadium as well. Did I pronounce that right?
So, yeah.
So
it's actually it's a little bit difficult, but that is, of course, the enemies of Ajax. But,
yes.
Then the Kuip, that's the stadium, is like the best in the Netherlands.
Yeah. It was a long time ago. I don't know if it was the same stadium back then.
It's still the same. It's still the same. They want to get rid of it, but it's
Oh,
that's sad.
Very
that's
good.
Sad.
Yeah. Sorry to bring in the football conversation, but
of course it's always nice whenever you want.
I'm coming to Spain now. Javier said I could.
Be my guest.
Perfect. Your girlfriend and I can talk about the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and you and I can go to a football match.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
Excellent. Sorry, Thomas, to move the conversation along.
I think we're being people, aren't we?
Yeah.
We are being people. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Cool. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate everybody's time. Have a fantastic weekend, and I think we'll have to schedule part 2.
Yep, let's do it.
Sure, let's do that.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks,
bye,
guys.
gentlemen.
Enjoy
everybody.
Bye-bye. Enjoy the weekend.